What is good again, everybody, and welcome back to the channel. Fall Guys new space themed season 2 is just around the corner, and from the past month we have been gathering a ton of leaks such as brand new skins and collaborations, all 8 new space themed levels with gameplay footage, and even a new 200 tier fame path, so stick around to the end if you want to get all the latest information about Fall Guys season 2. Just before we start, this video took a lot of time and effort to make, so it would mean a lot to me if you could like this video and subscribe to the channel. And as well as that, all the information in this video was brought by Crunky, Pancake, Beanbot, and Muffin, which leak all the latest news about new content in Fall Guys, and I will leave a link to each of their Twitter pages in the description box below in case you want to check them out, but now let's dive straight into the video. So Fall Guys Season 2 is assumed to be releasing on September 13th, according to a leak that Muffin posted showing the show schedule, and that the last show is going to last from September 8th to the 13th, and then at the bottom it says end of season. The endgame event coming with this show is called the Satellite Repair Mission, and the way it works is that all of the players need to work together and collect satellite parts from different maps and get enough parts to make the players teleport themselves to Season 2. Next up, here are all 8 new levels that will be featured in the update. First up, we have a race level that is called Space Race. The level starts with a bunch of hammers, then moving on to some new alternating platforms moving up and down that you need to navigate between in order to reach the top. Then there are a bunch of hexagon tiles that you need to walk across to reach the other side, but these new hexagon tiles are actually called Hexasnake tiles that respawn a few seconds after they have been stepped on, so remember that for the rest of the video because they appear in many more maps. Regardless, if you still fall off the Hexasnake tiles, you will fall into a slimy downhill area that leads to a bunch of more alternating platforms that eventually get you back to the top. Next, there are some more alternating platforms that you need to walk across, leading to another new obstacle, which is a conveyor belt that changes the direction it goes in every few seconds, with a few pendulums that swing from side to side. After the conveyor belt, there are 2 pipes that end up taking you to an area full of these new lasers that if you stand on top of them, they boost you really far up, which gets you to a few more alternating platforms, then a few more Hexasnake tiles, and finally there are 2 slimy ramps like in Track Attack, but this time with low gravity fields. But if you fell and didn't manage to get to the finish line from the ramps, you respawn in an area in the middle of those 2 ramps, which is a spinning cylinder with the same lasers we saw earlier, but this time you want to avoid those and get past the cylinder where there are some more lasers, then now you need to stand on them until they boost you high into the air and get you right past the finish line. Next up, we have another race run called Cosmic Highway, where you start off by navigating your way through 4 rows of platforms that move left and right, with the first 2 rows being regular platforms and the other 2 rows with the same platforms but this time with a few bouncy poles. After you pass all 4 rows, you receive a checkpoint and then you move on to another 4 rows, this time made from platforms in various different lengths, some new design drums or lily pads, some pendulums, and the reversible conveyor belts we saw earlier. After you pass these 4 rows, you get to another checkpoint and then you move on to a still platform with gaps that has 4 rows of boxing gloves that you need to avoid getting hit by that again move left and right. After that, you receive another checkpoint and then you move on to 5 rows of regular platforms that some of them have lasers, and at the end there are a few pendulums that you need to avoid getting hit by, and after that you receive your final checkpoint and then you move on to the last part that includes various different circular platforms with some obstacles on them that eventually get you to the finish line. Next up, we have a brand new concept level called Pixel Perfect. Each player or team, if you're playing a squad show, will spawn in an arena with a grid layout right next to them and a grid layout screen in front of them. Once the round begins, a pattern will appear on your grid screen, and your goal is to light the pixels on the grid next to you by walking on them and make them match the pattern shown on the screen. And repeat that a couple more times with different patterns that are shown on your screen until you qualify. The layout of the pixels can either be a 7x7 layout or a 10x10 layout depending on your skill level. This level has over 242 different patterns that you can copy, which may sound hard, but the way this level works is that there isn't a limit to the number of players that can qualify, but there is a 3-minute timer that will end up eliminating the players who aren't fast enough to copy the patterns. Next up, we have a level called Hyperdrive Heroes, which is like Hoverboard Heroes, but of course looks a lot better. All players spawn on the hoverboard, which will begin moving as the round starts. The first obstacle in this level are these platforms with moving lasers on top of them, which you need to avoid getting hit by. Next up, there are some reversible conveyor belts with a few bouncers on the sides, and some brand new moving bouncers, which are basically squared bouncers on top of moving Roombas. Next, there are some Hexasnake tiles which lead to an octagon reversible conveyor belt with a spinning pole on top. After that, there are some more spinning poles by their own, and then you need to leave the hoverboard and go through this gate and choose a path you want to go through that contains some Hexasnake tiles and the Roombas we saw earlier, this time carrying not just a bouncer but a hammer as well, and make it to the hoverboard in time before it's too late and moved on. Next, there's a ramp that leads you to an area with a few moving bouncers, and then you need to walk on some Hexa Snake tiles which lead you to another platform, this time with a Roomba and a pole on top of it, where you need to wait for the hoverboard to arrive and take you to the final area where you need to go uphill using Hexa Snake tiles to get to the finish line and qualify. Next up, we have a level called Frantic Factory, which is sort of a crossover between Button Bashers and Hoopsie Legends, where you need to press 5 lit up buttons in order to qualify. This level also contains some low gravity zones, some bouncers, and even button dispensers with conveyor belts, and some Roombas with buttons on top of them, which means the buttons you need to press are actually moving, which can make the level a bit more difficult. Next up, we have a level called Star Chart, where you have a big floating screen right in front of you that represent the actual map that is built out of rows of different colored platforms that you need to navigate between using only invisible paths. Once you press the button on the platform you are on, it will show you the invisible path you need to take to one of the platforms in the row in front of you, but on the big screen. Some of the invisible paths are surrounded by moving asteroids that you need to avoid getting hit by, which can make the level a bit harder. Next up, we have a level called Hexaterrestrial, which is one layer of Hexa Snake tiles that changes in size depending on how many players are on the map. Meaning if you're probably 4 players or less on the map, the arena will be very small, and as there are more and more players, the arena will get bigger and bigger up until there are 60 players, which will end up as a huge map made out of Hexa Snake tiles. Although it can handle 60 players, sadly it won't be doable in solo show, meaning you won't be able to get a 60 player final on the very first round, but I'm assuming that sometime in Season 2 we will be getting a show that will give us this 60 player final. And lastly, we have a map called Tiptoe Finale, which is basically a mix of Tiptoe and Fall Mountain, where there are 4 starting platforms all equally far from the crown, where you need to start by finding the correct path of the tiles leading to the middle of the map, and then you need to use those spinning blocks to make your way up and grab the crown and avoid getting bounced back by the bouncer. As well as that, there are cannons in each corner of the map, where if you press the button on the starting platform, it will shoot a random object to wherever the cannon is facing, which could be a good strategy in squads. For example, one player can stay on the starting platform pressing the button and constantly throwing objects at the other teams, while the rest of the squad are finding the way to the crown. But comment down below, what do you think about these new maps and which one is your favorite? Another map probably coming later on in Season 2 or even Season 3 is the collab map with WWE, which we already got the skins for, and maybe we'll even get some more skins when this map releases, but for now this is what the map looks like. We still don't know what the goal of the map is, but I'm assuming that it will be like Hoopsie Legends, where you need to collect a certain amount of a special WWE item in order to qualify. But for now, we can only see that there's an arena in the middle of the map containing a bunch of movable blocks and ladders, just like an actual WWE with the ropes and everything. And it also has flippers in the corners of the arena and some more flippers outside of the arena along with 2 rhinos. It was also leaked that with Season 2, we will be getting more than 70 new variations for existing rounds, ranging from new items to remember in Perfect Match, to a gravity field in Roll-Off, to pipes in Team Tail Tag, and to so many Hexa Snake tiles and lasers in so many different maps. Moving on from the new maps and variations, let's talk about the new Fame Path and the new skins. So the Season 2 Fame Path will include not 100 but 200 tiers, with some super cool looking items that we'll get to in a moment, but what will the new 101 all the way to 200 tiers will feature? Well, in the current Season 1 we've had no crowns or shards featured in the Fame Path, meaning we didn't get any progress in the crown ranks using only the Fame Path. But starting Season 2, once you finish all 100 tiers, you will start getting 30 shards or half a crown for almost every tier you pass, up to tier 200 for absolutely free. Now within the extra 100 tiers this season, there are also 3 full costumes that you will need to purchase the Fame Path in order to get. But you will still get about 47 full crowns, which can help you a lot with your crown ranks. Next up, I've made a chart showcasing how many of each item are featured within the 200 tiers in the Fame Path, as well as how many of each total amount of an item are free to unlock. Next, it was leaked that we may be getting a few changes to the user interface for some screens in the game, such as the show selector, the fall screen for custom lobbies, and even the locker room. And lastly, let's go over the collaborations for Season 2. The first collab is with Star Trek, releasing 3 costumes in a backpack, where you can buy the backpack and 2 of the costumes in the item shop, while the other one, which is the Spock costume, is being featured in the Fame Path along with a mask, which is an upper part, a banner, a nickname, and a Vulcan salute emote, which all of them will also be featured in the Fame Path. The second collab is with the game Pasheen, this time releasing a Pasheenasaurus costume and a Sloth costume, which are going to be featured in the item shop. The third collab is with the game ToeJam and Earl, releasing a ToeJam costume and an Earl costume, both going to be available to purchase in the item shop. The fourth collab is with Hatsune Miku, with 2 full costumes and a backpack, with one of the costumes being featured in the Fame Path, with a matching banner, a nickname, and even a celebration, and the other skin being featured in the item shop with a banner and a pattern. And the fifth and final collab is with the film Alien, releasing 2 full costumes, one being available to purchase in the item shop, and the other being featured in the Fame Path alongside what looks to be a nickname, 2 banners, and 2 celebrations. Wrapping this up, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel, and comment down below what are you most excited about in Season 2. And of course, I will be streaming this new season on this channel the second it's out, so make sure to be here during the stream and check out this new season with me. With that being said, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you again very soon, and bye bye.